Hi everybody, my name is Marty. Welcome to this channel here. Today I'm going to talk about veganism because there's a lot of YouTube videos on veganism and they're kind of extreme. I'm just going to go over my blood work because I've been following my blood work for years with my doctor now. So I've got the results from when I was a pretty heavy meat eater, eating the standard American diet. When this original blood test was taken, that was a year ago, about in January of 2017, I was eating out on the grill pretty much every day, eggs and bacon for breakfast, burgers or steak. Now, granted, yes, I'm aware that processed meats have been proven to cause stomach cancer and colon cancer and this and that, but I believe that's more related to nitrites, sodium nitrite specifically. But I always opted for uncured meats whenever I purchased hot dogs and bacon specifically. But then in July, I decided to go vegan. I want to say that it was the Engine Number 2 challenge, the 28-day Engine Number 2 challenge. And these firefighters in Dallas, Texas, that challenged anybody who was a meat eater to go vegan for 28 days and just try it. And if you can do it and it makes a difference in your health and in your energy level, well, then he's kind of proving his point. And I started to notice after about a week on the vegan diet that I had more stamina when I would run. I could run faster. I could run easier. I didn't get tired as fast. In fact, I could even eat something vegan and run 15, 20 minutes later, and I wouldn't get an upset stomach where as if I would have eaten eggs or bacon or dairy or something with cheese or whatever. I would have to wait considerably longer before I could just get back out there and get to my activities. So aside from the energy level, I was able to cope with stress. I was going through a divorce at the time. Being on a plant-based diet helped me to kind of cope with everything that was happening in a healthy way. So the other day, it's been 6, 7 months. I decided to have my blood tested again. Let's check the results and compare them to when I was a pretty heavy meat eater about a year ago. And here are the results of it. You can see um, my cholesterol total 154, HDL was 50, LDL was 92. So a little on the high side, but still not bad. Comparing cholesterol, my cholesterol went down, my total cholesterol from 154 to 145 being a vegan. HDL when I was on the meat diet was 50 milligrams per deciliter. Now it's 62, up from 50. So I have considerably higher HDL, but that's like what you want. You want to have higher HDL cholesterol. So I eat a lot of avocados. It's pretty much my staple food. I don't go a day without eating at least an avocado, some guacamole or something like that. It's just something I have to have every single day. Triglycerides 62, which was still healthy on a meat eating diet. Being a vegan, triglycerides are down to 58. So not much of a difference. So my cholesterol to HDL cholesterol ratio was 3.1 as a meat eater. My ratio is 2.3 as a vegan. So there are serious benefits to lowering your cholesterol just going plant-based. So when I was a meat eater, my protein he highlighted at 6.9 grams per deciliter. Now that's still within a fairly halfway decent range. I don't know. I guess that's considered low. 6.1 to 8.1 is the range, and I'm 6.9 as a meat eater. And if I go to vegan, it goes down to 6.8. So like seriously, like cutting out all that meat, protein, and eggs, and cheese, and milk and shit that I ate all the time. Literally, I dropped a tenth of a gram per deciliter of protein in my blood. Are you serious? Like, so anybody that says that there's like protein deficiency happening when you go vegan, they're totally full of shit. I'm not deficient. If I was deficient, I was deficient before. Going vegan made literally no fucking difference whatsoever. Now, the shit about going vegan is, in my case, homocysteine. This is the only negative part about being a vegan. Homocysteine. That was what my doctor was most concerned about because I have a genetic predisposition to have high homocysteine levels, and you can see that my homocysteine levels were 11.7, and they consider healthy to be under 11.4. So while I have great cholesterol levels, my homocysteine levels are insane. Basically, homocysteine is a compound in your bloodstream which inhibits the formation and release of nitric oxide, which opens up your blood vessels. So what this does is it kind of creates the conditions for arterial sclerosis and plaque in your arteries. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with how much fat you eat or avoid. If you have this genetic predisposition for homocysteine, you're naturally not going to be having as much nitric oxide in your blood, so therefore you're going to be more prone to collect and have deposits of cholesterol in your bloodstream. The way my doctor explained it to me is it's a deficiency of vitamin B12. And without the B12, you can't produce the nitric oxide. So you don't want high homocysteine levels. You want to keep them in a good range. And if you can, that's really how you kind of prevent heart disease in general. Meat eaters do not have high homocysteine levels because they get sufficient amounts of B12 through the meat that they consume. However, my genetic predisposition requires me to have an activated form of B12 and able to absorb it properly and in enough amount to matter. So I now have to take a supplement, whether I eat meat or not. You can see that homocysteine as a meat eater was 11.7, which was still out of range. I was still having problems with this even as a meat eater. However, going plant-based did not help this. Homocysteine levels are now 12.2, which is even higher. Now I'm even further out of range. You want to get that below 11. Most people probably don't have this problem, but I just haven't had the genetic predisposition to have high homocysteine levels. If you do have high homocysteine levels, that basically means that the inside of your veins and your arteries are like Velcro and they attract plaque like magnets. That's bad. Okay, you can have a sudden stroke or heart attack with this kind of condition, so you seriously need to watch your homocysteine levels. Get your blood tested, watch your homocysteine levels, ask your doctor to check specifically for homocysteine because it's not in a standard panel. You want to know this because this is literally the key to heart disease and stroke and cardiovascular health. And if you can keep your homocysteine levels down by keeping your B12 folate levels up, well, then you can effectively prevent heart disease, which is the #1 killer in America. Going plant-based for me didn't make a huge difference health-wise. It lowered my cholesterol and like all of my minerals are up, which is good. So I mean, there are some good stuff, but I mean, it's not so crazy significant that it's like you go plant-based and it's like, whoa. No, the results are going to be more actually superficial. You're just going to feel better. You're going to look better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to sleep better. You're going to get sick less. These things don't necessarily get reflected in a blood test, but you do notice them in your daily life. Being plant-based does help balance out minerals and cholesterol and fat. But health isn't the only reason why I decided to be a vegan. There are 2 more reasons why I decided to go vegan. Second, first being health. Second would be animal rights. I just don't think it's necessary to eat meat at the level we do. If you can survive health-wise with pretty much no difference and some benefits to being plant-based, well, why would you take the life of an animal which has a nervous system, that has a life, feels fear, feels all of this stuff? Yeah, so whatever, my heart bleeds for all the animals that get butchered. Now I understand there are circumstances, if you're surviving, if you're out in the woods, or if you live in a rural area and this is all you have to eat, you know, then that's what you eat. But in this day and age where I live, agriculture rules. There's an abundance of plant-based foods. There's simply no shortage. I will not starve to death not eating meat. It's not about that. It's more about the principle, which leads me to my third point why I don't eat meat or dairy anymore, which is the whole industry behind it. It's sickening. It is truly sickening the way they treat the animals, literally breeding them into existence, forcing them to be bred into existence. Their whole lives, they're treated like crap. They're mistreated. They're overcrowded. They're fed genetically modified grains, which their bodies are not intended to ingest, and they end up sick. Most of the meat that is eaten is sick. Farm raised meat on a mass scale is not a good thing. It's not sustainable. It's terrible for the environment. It's destroying our environment. They literally kill wild animals and destroy wild rainforests, and hundreds of species are displaced to make room to grow fields for cattle. That's what I think is fucked up. You know, if you want to have a cow on your farm, have a cow, okay? Butcher the cow and eat the cow. That's cool. You cross the line when you have 1,000 cows and you herd them all together in a feedlot and you fatten them up with genetically modified corn and chemicals until they're sick, and then you butcher them. That's the part that is fucked up for me, and I'm not okay with that. So those are the reasons that I'm a vegan. Mostly health, but then just basically animal rights, and then literally political, because the whole dairy and animal industry is literally an evil, terrible practice. And I simply just have a huge weight lifted off my chest, not eating any of that shit, not participating or buying any of that. I'm literally boycotting all meat and dairy, and it feels fucking great. Yes, I can say I'm smug over that shit, but it's so fucking evil to me once you actually see what the fuck they do to those animals. Like, it's not okay. Like, I have cats and dogs. I love horses. I love goats. I've been around farms. I grew up on ranches. You know, okay, I'm not okay with slaughtering these animals unnecessarily. Okay, if you got an alpaca farm and you got one alpaca that's sick or retarded and you have to put it down, okay, you're not evil for eating the meat and processing the meat of that alpaca, and that's oftentimes what happens. There's a new thing where they're actually growing meat in laboratories based on the DNA of these animals. Now, some people might still have an issue with this, but that kind of eliminates the third point that I have. If all meat were grown in a lab and we didn't farm our meat from live animals anymore, if it was just kind of grown in a lab and it's the same DNA and it came out the same texture and everything was essentially the same except for it never was alive, well, honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I probably wouldn't eat it myself still. All right, I better wrap this up. If anybody has any arguments or anything to say about veganism or meat eating, feel free to leave the comments below. And feel free to slam a like on there and subscribe if you'd like to hear more kind of weird content from me. I'm just kind of all over the place with my content right now, so till I find really a niche, but you never know what I'm going to put out next. So hit the old subscribe and like button and we'll just see what the hell happens. All right, peace.